Alderman, yes, and the Deputy Mayor, to receive the input from Christopher Newman, thanking you for your time. All those in favour, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Carried.
Contrary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Newman.
I'm contrary. I'm contrary. I'm voting against that. I don't wish to pass any vote of thanks for what he presented today, especially what he said about Māori and what he said about women and people that identify as women.
I accept that. I'm just happy to move on, but we've noted that. Thank you. Now, for something entirely different, we're going to move to the local board input. We did actually have one under 6.2.2. I have discretion to allow the Waitemata Local Board an urgent presentation as they wish to deal with the imminent demolition of a listed heritage building. Well, that's what I'm led to believe we're hearing. About the Fitzroy Hotel, whether it is, from Mr. Alan Matson, who is a member of the Waitemata Local Board. And so please come to the front. Mr. Matson, good morning.
Thank you very much for exercising your discretion. I've got a few slides which Sandra has, or we can share the screen. I'm not sure how that happens. How do I share my screen?
You speak up.
Pardon?
You speak up.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I can just click on any of those pictures, okay. It hasn't come up. I've clicked on it. Sorry to hold everyone up. I know there's a big agenda.
Clearly you're not a young person.
Pardon?
I resemble that comment.
Fantastic. Right, thank you. I brought this before you because there is, as you say, the possible demolition, but I hope to put another alternative before you. The building is of significant value. It's, you can see it there up on the ridge. That's 1857 with a muddy Queen Street below you. It's quite extraordinary. It's one of the oldest brick buildings. Extraordinary that it still survives. So there it is. It was built by a fellow called William Parker, who was one of the great brick makers, owned by Edward King and David Sheehan, who were provincial council members. Richard Seekins, who founded what became Lion Breweries, owned it and extended it in 1895, and then the Prohibitionists closed it in 1909, and it in time became the home of the Wakefield Press, which published Baxter, Shadbolt, Curnow, and some of the great poets. It's a Category A building. It's a Category 1 building. It took a significant amount of time to get it listed, and I'm sure that Council have already invested a lot of money in recognising it. The building has fallen into neglect and has cracks on it, and it's had a dangerous building notice put on it dated the 11th of October. The closing date for that is 10th of November, and prior to that, Council may apply to the District Court for an order to make it safe. By the 10th of November, in any case, the owner or Council will need to make it safe. The local board have it in their local board plan, the preservation of significant buildings like the Fitzroy Hotel, and we encourage the council to use the Heritage Acquisition Fund to purchase it. The cost of the propping is something that can be set against the title, so ultimately the owner will pay through a reduced sale price. The owner is absentee, and there is evidence that they're not in a great financial position, and I think that they're a willing seller. And so that's really the urgency of the matter. You'll be faced with a decision whether to make it safe by demolishing it or propping it and giving the bill to the owner who didn't look after it. And so I welcome any questions. There it is.
You have a slightly more modern picture of that.
Yes.
I wasn't there at the time.
Okay, there it is. There it is. Where that's.
You were born a year after.
That's in its original form.
Well, there is some conjecture.
Councillor Williamson's pointing out he remembers it well.
You and I were at the back of that wagon then.
That was in 1895 before it got the addition, and that's the addition that Richard Seacombe did. That's the year it closed as a pub. There it is up in the back of it. This building down here in Airedale Street, you'll notice, is the Airedale Cottages, which council has successfully used the Heritage Acquisition Fund before to purchase and save. That was a successful operation, and there it is today. So it's been now closed off. Half Lyndock Street is closed, and it's been closed in front of the with cones. Actually, 2.5, 2.4. It's now completely surrounded with plywood and being closed off. So there across the road was the Globe Hotel, which was a great cultural place. Across the road's the Fitzroy. There it is in 1906. That's what it should be returned to. It's on there's two separate titles, and the owner owns both, and I think the council need to ensure that it doesn't get demolished. I welcome any questions, as I say.
Okay, are there any questions? I presume Councillor Watson would like to know what the price of drinks are inside.
I just want to know when happy hour is, that's all. So thanks, Alan. I just want to try and get a little bit more detail about this option of, I think you called it propping, at where the council fixes it up, restores it, gives the bill to the owner.
No, I'm not saying restores it.
Well, makes it safe, okay, gives the bill to the owner. What then is the mechanism to ensure the owner pays the bill? Because that would seem to me to be, you know,
I think you'd have trouble getting the cash out of them. I think you'd be setting it against the title. And the fact is that when you do the propping, which is for his account eventually, it's the propping as I understand it, and I'm sure the Mayor may be able to help, and any consequential seismic work under the Building Act. So he will be faced with, he knows the situation he's in, he's got a window that's closing, and he needs to sell it, and council could use the acquisition fund to buy it. And the uncertainty of what he will get for it is, he faces uncertainty because he's got the propping, which he could probably estimate at, you know, 100,000 or 200,000, and then maybe a bit internally, but then he's got something he can't sell. He's a seller.
That can be attached to the title, so that on the sale, I've dealt with this in the past, where the proceeds of the sale are first used to clear any debts, and the remainder goes to that. So there is a mechanism for that. Councillor Walker, does that answer your question, Councillor Watson?
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Walker has a question, and Councillor Fletcher has a question.
So
And just to clarify, the Chief Executive tells me there is a meeting this afternoon of senior staff to consider a response to this urgently raised matter. So ask your question in the knowledge of the fact that Mr Wilson has convened a meeting with parties involved later in the day.
I'll modify my question accordingly then. So given that I now understand that there is a meeting of some sort, I'm sure that's amongst officers of our heritage division, what steps would we need to take to advance the proposition that Mr Matson is putting up, that is that there be some remedial work so that the building's not a hazard?
They're not remedial works.
To clarify, the meeting is with parties, but including the building owner. Okay, so otherwise I would suggest just taking it on advisement, and we will close the loop with councillors and Mr. Matson and the board afterwards, once we're clear on options and different views of stakeholders.
It would be fair to say that in an instance where we've got a Category A, Schedule 1 building, that we would take steps to ensure that the building was preserved.
Political decision.
Yes, political decision, and I would not go further than just committing to look seriously at this in good faith this afternoon.
Thank you for that question. Councillor Fletcher, please. And
thank
then
you. And
Councillor Lee, who might have been there.
I thank you, Mr Mayor, for allowing this to be an urgent matter that is brought forward by the local board. My question is twofold. Firstly, do you have the support of the full local board in your representations today? And my second question is, in light of your long experience in the area of heritage, are there any potential interested parties in such a building because of the situation you put to us in terms of the current owner? So does the local board support you in these representations today?
Yes, of course, we had this item under extraordinary business at our business meeting last week, and the notice of motion, which I've included with the material for Sandra, was passed unanimously. And as to potentially interested parties, as with Mr Wilson, some things one can't disclose, but yes, I believe there are potential buyers.
Thank you for your ongoing advocacy for heritage.
Lee, please.
Thank you, Mr Matson. I would note that the building was named after the second governor of New Zealand, the one that came after Governor Hobson. And Governor Fitzroy was also the captain of the Beagle during Charles Darwin's famous voyage. So it certainly has got historical connotations, not just for Auckland, but perhaps internationally. In your experience and in your view, does the Auckland Council Built Heritage Acquisition Fund, is that a feasible and workable approach to try and rescue this building?
Sorry, just restate that, please, Mr Lee.
Is the Auckland Council Built Heritage Acquisition Fund a feasible and workable option to try and rescue this building?
Yes, I believe it is, and hopefully the outcome of your conversations with the various parties will find it to be so. It's certainly what it was created for, and as I understand it, there are sufficient funds to deal with this. So yes.
Thank you. I can note that Mr Matson has the support not only of the Wairemata local board, but of the local councillor. Thank you.
There was a good deal of public support over a number of years getting it protected. Thank you for your time.
Okay, that seems to have finished the questions, and sorry, Councillor Watson wants another one, or are you? Oh, Councillor Watson wishes to move, and Councillor Walker just second that we receive this, plus refer this to the Chief of Strategy to engage with the building owner. Okay, so all those in favour of that, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, carried. Thank you for your attending. Mr Matson.
My pleasure. Thanks for your accommodations.
Now we have no extraordinary business. So now I'm moving to item 7, Maori